And voila, we are live on the Phoenix Radio
Hey.
today, the Red Room, Real Estate Secrets. We're actually also live on Luke's Facebook page and the Viking Real Estate YouTube, not Yahoo, YouTube page. So, and today we're here with the real estate gurus, the Viking Real Estate Group partners. So we're all in house today. We got no guest speakers except Jake's a guest, but he's part of the team anyway. So
Right. Heck yeah, happy to be here.
yeah. So today we're going to talk about systems. So we're gonna just kind of compare the systems we use at Sell Wholesale Houses and the systems they use over there at Viking. And everybody says, what system should you use? I mean, the common answer is what's the system that you're actually going to use. If it's a CRM, the one that you're going to put the actual data into. But obviously, systems are the thing that help you go from the guy with the yellow pad piece of paper to, scaling into multiple states or multiple counties or, so on and so forth. So from there, we'll just start from there.
So really quick. So when I have a lot of people reach out and say, hey, Luke, what do you guys do for systems? How do you guys do this? How do you do that? Where did you guys implement this, implement that? It was not me. It was Jake. It was Jake. So this is the guy that you want to be talking to. This is the guy you want to be asking your questions to because Jake was the one who, was able to put all that in place for us and obviously, helped us scale to where we're at now. So we've got your guy. If you get any questions, feel free to reach on out and ask him. But yeah, Jake, I'll just say, if you just want to hop on and just kind of talk a little bit about, where we got started, where we were obviously from the get-go, and then how, us putting systems in place and kind of building that out, kind of where it's taken us now and what systems obviously along the way that we have been using.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So Luke and I, we got started about 6 years ago, really just solopreneurs, just us two in the office, making calls and everything else. And if you're a solopreneur, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And we did that for a couple years, and we were kind of closed-minded to implementing new things.
Oh yeah.
Luke and I's role were always different, as you guys always see in Luke's cold calling videos and everything. He's always been on the sales side. I was more on the back end side, admin, doing all the marketing, different things like that. Yeah. But it really took us a while to kind of make that leap and jump into trying some new things. And that's really even up to about 3.5 years ago. We were still, cold calling in-house.
Oh yeah.
Just had cold callers in-house, and it was kind of like the old eat what you kill type model, commission only. And we did well. We did good with it. But, as the market compressed and as competition got more and more and more, you look back like 3 to 4 years ago, cold calling was like shooting fish in a barrel. There was few people doing it, and, it was 100 times easier than it is now. So over that time, we kind of, decided and kind of saw the writing on the wall, like, okay, we've got to start putting different systems in place, different avenues to stay ahead of the curve. And we were, Chris, you mentioned it, like just writing down leads on the old notebook and whatnot. We had an old accordion file. Yeah, we had an accordion file where literally all the leads, where we write them down on paper, get filed into the system. And it worked. It was really easy to stay on top of. But the hard part was, if someone new was to come into the business, they couldn't pick up where someone left off. If someone left the company, they couldn't necessarily pick up where those leads were left off. So, just for starters, we implemented a CRM, which a lot of you guys are thinking like, yeah, that's a no fucking brainer. You should have done that from the get-go. But we were closed-minded. We didn't do it. So, we got a Podio account. We started building it out, tried to build it out ourselves. And, I'm not tech savvy. I know Luke is totally not tech savvy.
Oh, no.
So
we just did a video with a drone over the past couple of days, and that was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. It blew my mind. You would think that that we had thought that they released drones like a couple of weeks ago.
Exactly. So we finally hired a developer to kind of build out our Podio system, kind of exactly how we would like, different systems into that. And I would say one of like the biggest things, I know this isn't necessarily a system, but one of the biggest things that I feel like took us from the solopreneur route to actually building a team was building out an actual sales process and an exact structure for the team to follow, so it's replicatable. I don't know if that's a word, that doesn't sound right, but it's replicable. And, if someone leaves the company, next person can just jump in. So yeah, I don't know exactly what kind of systems you guys want to hear about, but I mean, we can go on and on.
I think if we could start off and just say, obviously, a lot of people out there, use different CRMs. I mean, we use Podio, and I mean, obviously once we built out Podio, that made a huge difference. And I mean, so just along the lines of with Podio, what are some of the systems that we use, Jake, that we kind of, I guess
well, let's just start from the beginning. Where do you guys get your data? We use RealFlow. So, we just grab our data from RealFlow. We have a subscription there. Where do you guys start there?
Yeah, we use RealFlow. So for larger lists, we use RealFlow. And then for, some of the more targeted niche lists, we use Tangie's list. She does a lot of probates, pre-probates, different things like that. But what we've kind of noticed recently is the niche lists. I mean, they're obviously a small list and everybody is hitting it. Of course, right. That's we all know this. There's no secret list, no matter what. Everyone hits the same shit. So what we've actually kind of pivoted to is more so picking areas, and this is kind of learned back from the days being a realtor. It's called like circle prospecting. Pick an area that you're actually interested in, that you can buy in, you have buyers in, and we've kind of pivoted in doing more of a shotgun approach rather than just a super niche approach. So RealFlow, I mean, that's pretty much our go-to. We used to use ListSource, which is, fine data. It's not bad. I think it's, like 3 cents a record. PropStream was solid. We used them for a long time. They're super cheap. But yeah, that's pretty much who we're using.
All right. So we got the data. So we have our own account with IDI. Who do you guys use for your numbers? And I know there's lots of different options out there. We just set up our own account instead of going with, some of the resellers like Lead Sherpa and some of those others.
Yep, exactly. We use IDI as well. And that's kind of like the same thing that we saw as well. We did an agreement with them. We said we're going to do X amount of, records a month. So it was a lot cheaper than Lead Sherpa. We did Batch for a while. We love Batch. That's who we use, for SMS and whatnot. But their prices, I think, have changed a little bit and got a little pricier. So IDI was cheaper on that route with the volume we were doing.
Yeah. We're the same way. So
yeah. And then for like one-off, like say if IDI doesn't come back with something, we have a connection with someone else that has a TLO account. So they'll, do small batches for us through TLO.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now we got the data, we got the numbers. Obviously you guys are the cold call kings. What are we using for outbound dialer? Like, I mean, I know you guys probably know obviously we use Mojo for a while.
Yep.
Or in some cases these days, like, a lot of my leads, I don't even know what dialer is because I'm using a VA. So they're using a system that I don't even know. But when I had in-house cold callers, it was Mojo. So
we're still Mojo for in-house.
Yep. So we've actually started doing more in-house dialing as well. Just kind of filling in voids, see if the team, just obviously their first priority is incoming leads and whatnot. But say if there's like a lull one day, with all the telecommunication rules that are coming out, certain days, certain numbers are getting shut down, and we might get a little less leads. So then we're having our sales guys jump on Mojo and doing outbound dialing as well. So in-house, we use Mojo just mainly because of, it's so damn easy to use.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
And Luke's used it for 100 years now. So, he shows them exactly what to do, which makes it easy.
Does Mojo give you, Luke, do they give you like little, referral fees and everything? Cause you're probably the longest, you're like the number one user, like the first guy to log in.
we've reached out to them about that. No, they do not, unfortunately. We're still working on it though. We got to figure something out there.
The guy with the most number of Mojo hours is got to be you for sure.
No doubt about it.
Probably up there, not gonna lie.
But then we've also outsourced cold calling as well, kind of like you're saying. We have VAs. Our VAs are in South America. We just have noticed that the accent's a little better in South America rather than Philippines and whatnot, and they use ZenCall.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now we got the data, we got the numbers, we got the outbound calls going in. So obviously the next thing is the CRM. I use REI Black Book. I actually got referred to it about a year ago. I actually don't even know if it's Podio based or not. Way back in the day, we used to have Podio, but this REI Black Book actually is it's got this 15 system follow-up. So obviously, if you get a live transfer or you get a number in and you call back and they pick up that first 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or whatever, or in the day. But if they don't, you drop them into a system, and it's got a 15 reach out callback system. It's a text, it's a ringless voicemail, it's an email. It's just like they get blasted for the next 15 days until they respond to something.
Right.
That's pretty sweet. Yeah. I feel like CRMs, they're like a dime a dozen. Everyone kind of has their own preference. We just went with Podio just because it was kind of what everyone was saying to use, and we actually cloned someone else's Podio, which took a lot of it took a lot of the guesswork out, and we were kind of following their systems as well. So it just made the transition really, really smooth and easy. And our calling service is through Podio. It's a Podio based company. We're obviously able to link Batch to it. We're able to link our direct mail campaigns to it, PPC, and it all just comes into one hub, like everyone knows. And could we Podio's, all these CRMs are so futuristic and crazy. They've got so many capabilities, and honestly, we probably use it like 25% of what it actually is capable of.
No joke.
But we still get deals. Obviously, we're still doing everything. So
there's definitely things that we learn every single day. Like, you just hop on and you're like, oh man, we can do that. Like, you can do this with it. So it's definitely very unique in that sense. I'm sure most CRMs are like that. But like Jake said, I can only imagine where you get to when you are using everything to its full capabilities. It's gonna be nice. Because we've only been steady with Podio for what, Jake? Maybe 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, if you could get every little piece going, you would it obviously be more optimized, but every little bit helps. As long as you got something to say, hey, call back this person at this time, or obviously the important stuff. Obviously everybody's like, oh, you got to know your numbers. That's when you kind of get into that 80 and 90%. Like, oh, what's PPC giving me? Oh, it's giving me. I'm spending this. I'm getting this X on my return. I'm getting exactly this many leads. I'm getting exactly this many contracts. That's when you get dialed into like that 75, 80, 90% on your CRM.
Right.
But as long as the money that's going out is being 4 or 5 or 6x, or that's reverse, right? The money is coming back in 4 or 5, 6x. Like, obviously, that's easy math. So
I think the other big thing is honestly just not letting leads slip through the cracks. That's kind of one of the big things too, is that when you are doing everything kind of old school how we were, it's easier to let stuff slip through the cracks. Where when you've got a solid CRM that's going to say exactly what you're saying, Chris. Hey, make sure you're making this callback, this callback, this callback. When it's supposed to be made. It's a lot easier to kind of dial that in and make sure that it's all every agent on your team is actually calling their leads back when they're supposed to be doing it.
Yeah. Now, so obviously there's more systems. Obviously, contract. I think everybody uses DocuSign, but there's probably other smaller versions of that may be free. I think DocuSign you have to have a subscription for, but there might be some free versions of that help get you contracts. Are there any other systems besides in your CRM? I mean, is there I don't do PPC. So is there a system for PPC, or like you said, it just goes straight into your CRM?
Yeah, we just have a third-party company that manages it for us. So, they get the leads, push it right through to the CRM. Obviously, it's under a different lead source, so we can actually track it. And we're tracking how much money's going out, obviously, in marketing. And then we're tracking on the back end, obviously, the KPIs of what's the return. But one of the biggest systems I would say that really, really kind of changed our business, and it's also in our CRM, it's a smartphone. Okay. Smartphone is a calling service that all of our sales agents use for, let's say a lead comes into the system. Our guys are on smartphone all day long. They've got different numbers for each market that we're in, and that's how they're outbound dialing. The reason why I say this changed like our business the most was before we were using the sales process that I was kind of talking about earlier. There was a lot of guesswork. We were, leads would come in, and not everything was getting closed, or a lot of stuff wasn't getting closed, and we kind of look at it, be like, okay, what the hell? What did we say? Where was it? Where was this lead? Kind of where to get dropped off, and what could we have done better? And it was all through just our personal cell phones, and nothing was getting recorded and nothing was super structured. So once we switched over to smartphone, which is a Podio-based company, so it links super, super easy with Podio, or I don't know necessarily if some of these other ones that can link with that, but I'm sure there's different calling services. But the huge thing for us was we were able to listen to our sales agents' calls, and we were to see where in this sales process, was going wrong. And the reason why we did this, it wasn't to harp on them and be like, oh, you did this wrong.
Right.
No, it's just to say like, hey, you could have done this better. And, that was a closable deal. And, you should have said this instead of this. And what does it lead to? It leads to the company making more money. It leads to the agent making more money, just higher returns on everything. So I would say is the single biggest system, or, that's given us a return on our money that like made one of the biggest changes. We went from doing, 1.5 million to 2.8 last year. And now we're on track to do 5 million this year. And that was when we started implementing it.
Right. And like Jake said, I mean, that was huge, because it's like, when you have certain leads that they maybe should have been closed, but, your sales agents are just saying, certain things wrong here and there. If you can correct that in a timely manner, you might even be able to save that lead still. You know what I mean? You might even be able to call them back and say, hey, I know that, we had said this, we can actually come back and after we've done a little training, the very next day you can come back and be like, hey, I'm sorry, we actually can make that happen. We can do this different, whatever it might be for what they were looking to hear. And you might be able to save some deals that way too. So it's really just staying on top of every single lead, to the next level. That makes a huge difference.
And like you said, with the recordings, and your CRM's in place, if you do lose somebody, you got recordings to be like, hey, listen to some recordings for the new guy so he gets his feet wet before he actually starts his outbound calls.
Absolutely. So, that's huge too. All right, guys. So real quick, we've got some live questions here. So Andrew Rogers is asking, what is your sales process like? How do you train your new hires? So I'll let Jake kind of hit on the sales process, but for how we train our new hires, we usually do like a 7 to 10 day training process. They'll sit down with me, and basically what I'll do is we'll spend probably 4 to 5 hours a day. We have a full training program that we go through. It takes you through the whole everything about wholesaling, everything about flipping, everything that they're going to be learning about, everything that they're going to be needing to know for what their daily job is going to be, for like what business is going to entail. And then, from that point, after you kind of get into that, then it actually kind of gets into, actually sitting down, role playing a ton, right? Like just sitting there for days, just saying, and I'm just throwing different scenarios at you. Hey, as a seller, I'm going to say, hey, I'm not interested in selling my property, but I would be interested in selling this one. Just, all the different things that are going to come at you, right? Yes, I'm interested. How much can you offer me? There's just so many different routes that obviously a call can go when speaking with different sellers. So it basically goes from there to role playing. And then once we go role playing, we'll actually have them, like you said, Chris, hop on, listen to a bunch of recordings. Some recordings that, hey, this was bad. Don't say this. This is where we lost the guy. And then also really good recordings of saying, hey, do you see how this call took that perfect flow? You controlled the call the entire way, and basically just kind of took it down the route that it needed to go to be able to turn that into a closable deal. So that's kind of the route of the process. The route of the training of kind of how we go about it. And like I said, that usually takes anywhere from 7 to 10 days, and then we let them hop on and start making some live calls. And we pay pretty close attention to those first calls, because at the same time you want them to learn, but you also don't want to lose any deals that were closable. You don't want to lose any deals that could have potentially been a solid deal. So Jake, if you want to kind of hit on the sales process. I know we hit on it a little bit already, but just a quick overview.
Yeah, and just touching base on like the onboarding, I feel like one of the biggest things that we changed here in like the last year was we made the onboarding process super, super structured. Yes. It's really common for us as like entrepreneurs and like real estate entrepreneurs to not have much structure. And I mean, we can kind of come off as like fly by night companies, like, okay, yeah, do I really want to go work for someone like this? They're kind of a mom and pop shop. What kind of structure? So what we've changed to is we print out an exact itinerary of what those first 7 days are going to be, mm-hmm. and exactly what they're going to expect. We have, our shirts already folded on top of their folder. As soon as they come into the office for the first day, we have all their paperwork ready to go. Their the W-9, not W-9, whatever it is for W-2 employees, their agreement between us and them, we have it all just ready to go. So as soon as they come in, they know exactly what they're getting. Whereas in the past, we were a little loosey-goosey. We didn't, have much structure at all. Yes. And I think it hurt us for a long time. So now we've gotten super structured. So I just want to chime in on that. But on the sales process,
we've also got their first tequila shot laid out for their first deal.
Exactly. Exactly.
Is it 1942 or what is it?
Hell yeah.
We'll do Hornitos for the first deal, and then
little Jose Cuervo action.
But for the sales process, so our process is a lead will come into our system. And we have, two different roles on the sales side. We have a junior acquisition manager, and then we have an acquisition manager / closer. So a lead will come into the system, and who's hitting it first is our junior acquisition manager. They're getting on the phone with them saying, hey, I saw you just reached out or just spoke with, my associate, whether it's a cold call or whether it's an SMS, whatever, or I saw you inquired on our website, just want to see, are you actually looking to sell that property now or in the near future? Do that first initial call, kind of see how motivated they are in small ways. We don't want them to go through property conditions or anything like that on that for the junior acquisition manager. And then if that person's actually motivated and ready to sell, we are doing either a live transfer or we're scheduling a call same day for the closer to jump on and take them through our sales process. Yep. Our sales process is it's probably like 5 pages long, so I'm not going to go over every single detail. But once the closer, the acquisition manager gets on the phone, they're setting the expectation with the seller, going over exactly what this call is going to be like, making them feel comfortable. The biggest thing in sales, as we all know, is everyone has a negative connotation. They feel like, oh, I'm going to get sold. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. They're going to pressure me. So we take all of that pressure away in the very beginning of the call. We say, hey, this call is going to take 5 to 10 minutes, XYZ. We don't buy every single house. So if we can't come to an agreement, absolutely no worries whatsoever, but at least we're going to give it our best shot. Right. Go through kind of their motivation first, and then we'll go into property conditions and then expectations again of how that next call is going to go. Hey, I'm going to talk to my partners. We're going to run some numbers. We're going to give it the best shot we can on your house. And then, pick a time that you're going to do the next follow-up call. And then from there, the closers are running comps, coming to us for second opinions. We're going to come up with an offer. And then that next offer call is scheduled already with the seller. And then the offer call is when we actually make the call. So our sales process is actually a series of 3 calls. And it could be longer. I mean, obviously, depending on where the where the seller is in the process. But if they're ready to go, it's pretty much 3 calls. Junior acquisition, kind of does a heat check. Then the closer calls, goes through the entire process.
Yep.
Then third call is where we actually make the offer.
Nice. So with reference to that, you talked about comps, like you guys do some virtual wholesaling. What kind of systems do you use for your comps if you don't have MLS access, or do you have MLS access everywhere you look at a deal?
No,
we don't. Pretty much. So what we've done, instead of getting MLS access and everything else, we used to use PropStream a lot, and then obviously they kind of changed their thing. We used to even just use Zillow and Redfin, depending on the market. And then what we've done is, say if we're going to a new market, we'll actually almost create like a partnership of a way with a dispo person in that market.
Okay.
And we obviously vet them, make sure we trust them. They sign a non-compete, they do all these different things. And then, we're doing basic underwriting, and then we're passing it off to the expert in that market. And then they're doing, a deep dive on it.
Okay.
And that's kind of what's worked best for us. Just because, say if someone doesn't know, areas of Central Phoenix, say they're from Florida or Tennessee or something, they're not going to know like street by street, just like we would here in the valley. So.
Yeah. And then Luke's goal is like to make sure that the dispo guy makes what, like $500, $1,500? Isn't that my average with you, Luke?
Yeah, get out of here.
Ask Jack. He's been ripping them off lately.
Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty sure Jack ripped about three at like 7K recently. So I think you need to talk to your son. He's just not letting you know about this. Oh, Chris,
I used to give Luke a hard time. He's got to buy. I would dispo for Luke. I give him a hard time that he's got to buy me beers.
Yeah, exactly.
But in these other markets, typically, like you said, it's between $1,000 to $2,000, depending on how juicy of a deal it is.
For sure,
that's kind of what we're paying dispo in the other markets.
Okay.
And obviously here in Arizona, we use you.
Yeah, and then
Jack.
Yeah, I'm retired right now. Jack's got to do it.
Chris, right now, for those of you that are watching, Chris is normally on a yacht right now with a Mai Tai in one hand and a beer in the other hand. So this is a little abnormal for Chris right now. So
stretching the truth just a hair.
No, get out of here.
It's usually just a Mai Tai.
Yeah, that was.
All right, so after we get the contract, any back-end systems you guys do for office organization, deal like working through the office, or is that part of your CRM or?
Yep. So in our CRM, we have kind of like once we have the contract signed, then it goes into a different build out through Podio. And that's like, the whole admin side, whoever, escrow's opened with, earnest money, close of escrow date, all these different details on, if we're signing it, double escrow,
yep.
Whether we're flipping it, who's the lender, all those different things. And then we're old school. We just use spreadsheets and Google Drive for all the different properties. Just keep a nice file for each individual property. If we're flipping pretty much everything right now. So, we'll get the bid, put the bid in the folder, do the settlement statement from when we purchase, settlement statement from when we, finish. And then we pass that off to our accountant as well, just to make bookkeeping easy. So.
All right.
That was a big change too recently, Chris. We used to do everything, on our own in-house. And getting the accountant to kind of take care of all that was a huge change for us as well. It's the big thing that Jake and I are really pushing for is really just taking many of these things off of our plates. Because right now everything is on our plate. And so it's like, we can focus on the macro of the business, looking in versus, being when we're still in the day-to-day, don't get me wrong. But the more things we can take off of our plate, the more we can focus on the team, growing in general.
All right. There's that old saying, are you an owner or are you an operator? Right.
Right.
And it's tough to pass those off. Cause obviously in your head, you're like, oh, no one can do it like I can. But in reality, all of this shit, people could do 10 times better than we're doing.
Oh yeah.
And that's like in the beginning, like when we were still pulling our own list and uploading them and, cleaning the list and formatting all that. It's like, pass it off to a VA team. These guys are 100 times smarter than I am. They'll do it in,
Don't
1/10 of the time.
Don't say that about yourself, Jake. That's not true.
No, it's true.
Have you guys used any driving for dollars? I mean, you guys got acquisition guys out there, like you're on the same street. Any app to like, yeah, this is an ugly one, this is an ugly one, this is an ugly one. Any of that stuff out there, or not really?
We used I forget what's Batch's driving for dollars app. I forget what it is. Batch Drive or Batch something.
Batch driven.
Yeah, Batch Driven. We used that for a long time, and just paid a VA to virtually do it, and just add them all to a spreadsheet. Then we would skip trace them and just have the team hit them. And we got some deals, but it wasn't the return we were really looking for. So we don't do too much of it.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, that's all the systems. That's our 30 minutes of our real estate secrets. Thanks, Jake, for coming on. Obviously, Luke, and obviously, Jake, you can come on any Tuesday you want. We're always around.
Hey, I appreciate it.
But thanks, Luke, for coming on. And we're on here every Tuesday. We're talking real estate secrets. If you have any subjects you want us to cover, I got my buddy Johnny coming on, and I don't know if it's this week or next week. We're going to cover mobile home parks. So that should be a fun one.
Heck yeah, for sure.
But if you have any other subjects you want us to cover, put it in the comments in either Luke's or the Phoenix RIA's comments section. And we'll see you next week.
Absolutely,
guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Hey, we'll see you guys soon.
Thanks.